Hello, everybody. Welcome to my regular Cuppa and a Natter, which I call is also a live chat. I do this every other Monday, and I like to have authors join me, and we talk about books, we talk about writing, we talk about what's going on in our lives. My name again is Tina Hogan Grant. I'm the author of 5 books. My latest one, Better Endings, came out, I think, in February. And I'm glad to say that the 3rd book in the series will hopefully come out January, the end of January 2021. So I'm excited about that. It's with the editor right now, and I will keep you posted. Tonight, I am joined with author Sharon Gloger Friedman. Did I get it right?
You did. Perfect.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry?
I said, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I've been excited to talk to you. I have read your book, Ashes, this one right here. I have read it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved your book. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what you're working on now. But before we start talking about the book, can I hand it over to you and you can just give us a little background on you and where you're from, if you do anything besides writing, just a little background on Sharon.
Sure, thank you. I'm from South Florida originally. I live in Georgia now, North Georgia. My family came here to this country in New York, through New York, and that was how the story came about. I have, just to tell you, I have 2 children and I have 4 grandchildren, and no animals anymore, unfortunately. No, and I think I'm kind of dull because I don't really have any other hobbies besides reading and writing. I don't know what.
You are not dull. You are not dull.
I really don't. My passion has always been reading and writing too. So those are the 2 things we do. And now I have a lot of time on my hands, so I indulge in both most of the day. Spend a lot of time with my family too. My family is very important to me, not as much as we would like now because of COVID. But yeah, that's pretty much my life. The book Ashes has taken a lot of my time, not only the writing now, but when you self-publish, it's the marketing too. I'm sure you know that as well.
Well, also your book, correct me if I'm wrong, the genre is historical fiction, right, but based on true events, correct?
Right. Exactly, yes.
So the research has got to take you, that's got to take a lot of time.
It does. The book took 2.5 years to research and write, and that was, even with this book has been in my head literally for 40 years because something was a bucket list item for me. But the research, it takes a huge amount of my time. Mm-hmm. The book I'm working on now, much more research than I had anticipated, and literally I find myself almost every paragraph having to stop and make sure that what I'm writing about actually could have happened within the time frame that I'm writing about.
And it's not just, my father was an author, and he didn't write historical fiction, but he wrote one book that was time travel, and it took him back to World War II in one of his books.
Yeah.
When we sat down and talked about it, I was much younger at the time, and I wasn't writing books at the time. But he explained to me, that the book can take up to a year to just research. And I'm like, well, why? And he goes, well, think about it. It's not just the era of World War II. I have to get everything precise. The clothes they wear, the way they talked, what kind of food was popular back then, World War II. But
yeah.
It's down to that kind of precision. And I'm sure it's the same for you. It's not.
Yeah. Absolutely. And in writing Ashes, you're right. It was like making sure the language was appropriate. Like they wouldn't have said, oh, that's cool or something like that.
Right. Right. Good example.
The clothing. But then it was stuff too, like did fire engines have bells, whistles, sirens in 1911? How did the elevator door open? Did it open this way? Did it open that way? It was that kind of thing to make sure that the details were right. There's a scene in there that takes place New Year's Eve in Times Square. I wasn't sure they dropped a ball at that time and found out that they did, but then what did the ball look like? And so then it was describing the ball it was 100 pounds or something. And
something like, that's why I can't write historical fiction, because something like that I wouldn't even think about.
Yeah. So, well, but that's what would happen as I was writing, and I think that's what took me so long. And being a first-time novelist too. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I've been writing all my life in a business setting, but to do it, the novel, getting the hang of it and figuring out how to get where I wanted to go took a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah.
We do have a few people joining us, so I do want to just take a moment and give a shout out to the people that are here. And if you have any questions for Sharon, feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll do my best to, find them and let Sharon know. But let me see.
Some help finding the comments. Where are
but I do want to mention, if you're watching this in my group, Read More Books, you're going to have to click on the blue link at the top and let StreamYard acknowledge you so I can see you. If you're on my author page, it's okay. If you're on YouTube, it's okay. But for some reason in the group, you're going to have to click on the blue link and give StreamYard permission. Otherwise, I see you as a Facebook user. Michelle Ann Walt is here. She's from Idaho. Annette is here. She says hi. I'm just scrolling down the list. Betty Taylor is here. She says hello.
Hi, Betty.
Denise is here. Hey, Denise. And Bambi. Hey, Bambi. And there's a few Facebook users, so I'm guessing you're watching this from the group. So if you want to, click on the blue link, that way we can see who you are. Janet is here. Betty Taylor. Thank you guys for joining us. I love you guys for joining us. Sarah Wente. And if you have questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments. Denise loves Ashes. I love your book. Betty Taylor, my book club, loved her visit with us when we read her book. Your book is great for book clubs. I mean, yeah. It's a great discussion. And it's also, I learned so much from your book. Yeah. I really did.
That has been, book clubs have been great to me, really. They've been wonderful. And it is a great book for a book club because there is a lot to discuss and people relate. There are a lot of people who had family who came here around that time also can relate to what's in the book. And that's great fun. I have to confess, though, I am not able to read comments. I'm not sure where I should.
That's okay. I can deal with it. I can do that part. And if we have a question, I'll put it up on the screen and I'll read it out to you. That's fine. No problem at all.
That would be very helpful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Michelle says the research has got to be grueling.
It was. But I like that error and I could relate to it because I think I've made it known that the book is based on experiences of my own family. Not that they were in the fire, but because my grandparents came here in 1912, and then my great aunts and uncles came within a year after or more. But I grew up with these stories about their life when they came to this country. So I had a framework, but then it really came down to details to make sure the details were right. And of course, there were 3 historical events in there. There's the opening, the pogrom, and then the general strike, which, by the way, today is the 111th anniversary of that general strike. So how
really
fortuitous that we're doing this tonight. Yeah, and of course the fire. So, but I had very good resources. I was able to find first-person accounts, and that helped me a great deal. And so I was able to put the details together easily and then mesh in the story of of how they came to this country. And, it's an immigrant story. There's no doubt about it.
But, yeah. But we'll talk about what it's about in just a minute, but the conditions of the workers is what blew me away.
Yeah.
If you, hold on, someone asked me a question. I want to find it real quick. But the conditions of the workers, okay, here it is right here. I'll put it up on the screen. Denise, how did you come about choosing this particular subject matter of your debut novel?
Well, again, because of the family ties. You know, I was very fortunate. I grew up not only having my grandparents there, this is all on my mother's side of the family, but my grandmother had 5 sisters, and they were all down there. With one of them was not. The other 4 were. One was stayed in New York, and they were very, very close, and they were always doing things together. And this I'm talking about. I'm talking about growing up in the 50s and 60s. We didn't
Right.
have a lot of television. We didn't have all the electronics. So what did you do when you got together? You talked, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I actually lived 1 year with my grandparents because my grandmother was ill. So I was exposed to all these wonderful, loving. They were just wonderful people. I was so fortunate to have this, and they would tell their stories, and I always kind of carried these stories around in my head. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I was in I would say my 30s, I tape recorded my grandfather telling me everything about, and you know, he exaggerated a little bit. Somehow he became the hero in all the stories, but I was able to verify a lot of stuff with my great aunts, and it's just a wonderful story. So that's why I decided to write about when they came here in the garment industry, and then the natural extension of once I knew how bad the conditions were when my family was working there, was to bring it out in
Right.
the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. My grandparents did not work there. They
Okay.
came here after,
Right.
but the conditions were just as bad. It took a while for the conditions to improve, but it all came after the fire. So
Wow. So with that said, can you give us a little background on what the book is about? I'm going to read the description, but so that way, you know, the new people that are coming in will, you know, give us a little background on the book.
the book follows a family that leaves Russia. They unfortunately were caught up in a pogrom. It was, you know, the Tsar actually sanctioned it. It was violence against the Jews, and in the process, I don't want to give everything away as a spoiler. But there's a tragedy, and they want to leave and come to America. The mother has a sister living in New York, so they come to join her. And then when they come to New York, they're looking for a better life. But unfortunately, you know, there's these great promises of a better life, but it doesn't always work out that way. And they wind up living in a tenement, first living with the sister and then in the tenement. The main character, Miriam, wants very much to be educated, and she actually starts school. But then her father suffers an injury, and she has to leave school and go to work. And she goes to work in the Triangle Shirtwaist factory. So then the story follows this family through kind of the ups and downs of living in New York, living in the tenements. There is a love story. And I will say up front, there's a lot of sadness in the book. There's no doubt about it, but there is a happy ending. So,
but I mean, you talk about the sadness, but in this era and the conditions that they lived in and the risks that they took, there's bound to be some sadness. And I think not putting the sadness in wouldn't have made it feel so real. If you had left the sadness out.
Well, you know, they really suffered, and times were tough, and yet what I hope comes across, because to me this is what it's all about. It's really a family. It's about family and friendship and staying together and looking out for each other, and that's what they did.
Right.
And the idea of overcoming the hardships and coming out on the other side of the hardships, but it was not easy all along the way.
No, and you did a really, really good job of showing the emotions, showing the struggles. I mean, I can't say enough about your book, and you've seen how I've praised your book. I mean, at the end of the year, what I like to do is put my 10 best reads of the year, and this one is on the list.
Well, thank you very much.
Let me say hello to a few more people. Ruth Benson is here. She says hello. She says, we are 2 of her favorite redheads. Hold on. Oh, my niece is here, Jennifer. She says hello.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Jen. Good to see you. I'm not sure if you're in Arizona or in California. She goes back and forth. Judy Garcia, hi to my friend from high school.
Judy, yes, we could, yes, all the way back to North Miami High School, yes.
Wow, that was awesome. I love it.
It is.
That is so cool. Yes. Excellent. Well, she is here joining us. Mercedes says, can you see me? Yes, Mercedes, we can see you. Elizabeth Hurley. Hi, Sharon. Jason and Betty here, enjoying your talk.
Oh my, these are friends from my Massachusetts days.
There they are.
Yeah, hi guys.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Someone's asking, even though you do, here we go, let's put it up on the screen. Even though you do so much research, the rewards are still worthwhile.
Well, thank you. Thank you. The book, you know, writing again, I did not have, I wasn't sure. I didn't know if it was good, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And you put so much into it. It's been so gratifying. Just that people have been receiving it so well. And I also want to say the author community has been terrific, you know, so supportive. It's just amazing how helpful everybody is in wanting to.
It really is. And
push us along, yeah.
It is. And the support that these readers show us, I mean, I think I said it in one other chat sometimes, but the support is just tremendous from these readers that have read our books and they share it with other readers.
Yes.
But also what I get flattered by is, you know, we do these takeovers, we go into other groups and we talk about our books. And these readers will show us the support in these takeovers, even though they've read our book, they know everything about us, what, you know, that we shared. And it's pretty much, you know, we really can't change anything about the book or about our lives. So when we go into a group, I sometimes feel like I'm repeating myself over and over and over again, because how much can I say about myself? So I really appreciate them coming in and showing the support, even though they already know everything I'm going to say. You know, so I really, really do appreciate them. Let me see. The book is self-published, correct?
Yes.
Now, I love the cover. It really pops. And you designed this cover? Did you do the whole thing?
No, I worked with the publisher. They asked me for my ideas, and I told them I envisioned the burning building with the silhouette. We had a little problem with the building at first because the building, the shirtwaist factory was on the top 3 floors, the 8th, 9th, and 10th floor, and the building they had didn't have 10 floors, and so we had to change that. But other than that, they were terrific, and I've always been really pleased with the cover of the book. But yeah, it was kind of give it back and forth until we got it right. And
it looks really good. I mean, it really stands out, and it would be one I would pick up if I was in a bookstore.
Yeah, thank you.
It has the drama, it has the suspense. I mean, really, really good cover. Let me see somewhere. Bambi is asking, here's Bambi's question. Was there anything in your research that absolutely surprised you? That's a good question.
You know what did? It's going to sound silly. Yes, when I was researching the tenements, to find out that some of them had outhouses, just, I don't know why, but that just stunned me. And I had pictures of them. They're just picture like the little wooden outhouse. There were rows of them that in the middle of New York City, that at that point in that stage in the early 1900s, that there were outhouses. Yes, that did kind of shock me, which actually made the tenement that the Reisky family lives in a pretty good one, because although they didn't have a bathroom in their apartment, it was down the hall, they also had running water. Some of those tenements did not have running water either, and they would go down to a well and bring the water up in a bucket. Now, imagine bathing, because you'd have to fill a tub in the kitchen is how they bathed. So yeah, so that shocked me. I guess that was the one big thing that I guess just I never envisioned. My father lived in a tenement, but they're evidently better than, certainly not with outhouses. And
no. Now, was there something in the book that you just like was stumped on, that took you like a long, long time to find the answers to, or anything that comes to mind?
Some of the details, like the elevator, I had to do a little bit of figuring that one out again, and the running of it and that kind of thing. the pogrom took a lot of research too, not to figure out, but to make sure I got it all right. And there are actual things that happened are in the book because they're based on first person accounts.
Oh, okay.
The horrible one was the young boy that had been blinded in one eye, and then they blinded him in the other eye. That actually happened.
That actually happened?
Yeah, and they burned the Torahs and things like that. So that did happen. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was based on first person accounts and literature where I could find it easily. Yeah.
Wow. Now, do you write every day? I mean, are you no, every day do you write?
I sit at my desk with the computer in front of me. Yes, every day.
That's a start.
Writing doesn't always happen every day. There's some days that are just not real productive. I was better with Ashes than I am with the one I'm working on now. But even Ashes, I would have to step away from it. It was in my head all the time. So I needed to walk away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But there were bad days where there wasn't a whole lot. There weren't a lot of words showing up on the paper, that's for sure. I know you are very prolific and can pound out like 7,000 words. Oh my God.
I get on the roll. Better ending. I mean, I have an easier time, of course, with the ones that are based on my life because I know where it's going. And like the reunions is coming out in January, hopefully. But it's all based on my journey. So I kind of know where it's going. So I think that's one of the reasons why I can, get those books written quick. But now the Sabella series is all fiction. It's complete fiction.
I hope so.
And Sabella, the first one, Slater, I figured I had some time while Better Endings was with the editor. So, okay, I'll just write a short story. I want to do a suspense romance. Well, after I wrote it, it's like, okay, I can write another book from this series. And that's how it's progressed. But they don't come as easy because it's all fiction from my head. And like, I'm getting ready to write Jill, which is the fourth book in the series. And I planned on started writing her the minute the reunions are gone to the editor. And the reunions has been with the editor now for 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, come on, let's get this going. Let's get this going. And I wrote the first chapter, but I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. So what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is reading the entire series because you kind of forget what happened in even though we write the books, we got to recap our memories. So I'm now reading Claire, but it's just like I'm frustrated right now because instead of writing, I'm reading. And I tried writing again the other night, chapter 1, but no. I still don't know where I'm going with this because I haven't finished Claire. And I just need to regroup the whole series in my head. And I said to somebody online this morning, and I said, will you tell Jill to get off her high horse and let me tell her story because I haven't got anything right now. So I know what you mean when you say it can be a struggle.
Well, when I wrote Ashes, I wrote biographies for every character, and I kind of had a line of where I wanted to go. And then when I actually even in my head cast them as movie stars to have faces. I know as silly as that sounds.
No, I think it's a great idea.
I did that too. But then as I started writing, it took on a life of its own. I honestly don't know how to explain it. Just as you said, I knew I had these 3 events that I wanted to put in the book. I knew I was where I wanted to go. How I got there changed drastically as I started writing. Yeah. And I know we say it's a cliche, but the characters did take over. They started to take over.
They do. And I'm waiting for Jill, which is like, come on, Jill, I'm ready. Come on.
I know because I'm struggling with the one now, but this one, and the other thing too that surprised me is I some of the characters I thought I was going to put in the book never made it, and characters I never imagined got into the book. And the main one was Oscar. If you've read the book,
I have.
And there's something that I never thought about too. Oscar is a friend of one of the other characters, Meyer. Someone pointed out to me that I had Oscar Meyer as friends.
Oh!
Never ever struck.
I didn't even pick up on that. No, I did not.
And they're together, and their names appear together a lot. So there's Oscar and mine. But I was so careful about the names. I tried not to have them start with the same letters so they wouldn't be confusing, and it just never put it together. But Oscar never was intended to be in there, and I just put him in there because I needed a character to help Meyer learn the pushcart kind of.
Right.
And then I just liked him so much.
I liked him too. Yeah, he did. He kind of. I looked at him like both bringing in the both sides into the middle. I did. I enjoyed Oscar. Yeah, I'm glad you kept him.
I couldn't let him go, and then. I even as I'm writing Oscar into the book, I didn't think about putting him together with Malka, and yet that was a nice. I wanted her to be happy, so that gave her a nice. So that's So
I like that. I am going to read the description in a few minutes. Michelle Ann, this is interesting. Michelle Ann says, my sister would take a tape recorder to record some of our father's stories from his circus days. Did you use a recorder at all?
You did. My grandfather, yes, I did. When I was growing up, I heard all these stories, but it never occurred to me. I was in my teens. I was sure had my head in other places, I'm sure. It never occurred to me to take all of them. But when I was older, and I was fortunate enough to have my grandfather, he was in his late 80s when he passed away. So I recorded him. By then I was thinking, I want these stories because they were fabulous stories. And so I tape recorded him, and I was so glad I did that. I mean, even just from an emotional point of view, to have his voice was wonderful.
And you said you have 2 children.
Yeah.
Have they read your book? Because it is, the family history. So.
Oh, yeah, they both have, but only one of my grandchildren has read it.
But still.
Yeah, but both children, yes, definitely.
That's great, because it's part of you and them, their roots. So, and they loved it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they did. And they were very supportive, as my husband was. They were great. When you're doing this, you need to be propped up a lot. Those bad days are going to be really bad, and without the family, pushing me along, there were times where I thought I was going to quit. So, and then I got.
And this is your debut novel, and I remember when I put mine out there, it's terrifying. I'm not sure if it was for you, but I was terrified.
Oh, I was too. I kept saying, I just don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass.
Yeah, and you question yourself before it goes live, and then I went through a publisher of the first one, but you hit that publish button or whoever does that. Oh my God, what did I just do?
And I actually the first printing had not typos but errors, things that I missed in my editing, and I was mortified by that. And I'm definitely going to do things differently this time.
I found a few errors in mine, and it's like, okay, I'm self-published on the other ones, but the little errors that I found, I will eventually fix them. But do you publish through Ingram at all, or just Amazon?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, with Ingram, you make one little correction, it's $25.
Yeah, I know. No, it wasn't.
Okay, I will see if I can find any more.
And with the publisher that I used, because it was self-published, every correction after a certain amount there was a fee attached. So I'm going to be a lot careful. It's just for me, having done. It was a little bit of hubris. In my other life, I had done some editing and copywriting, and so I figured I could do it on my own here, and I shouldn't have. I was too familiar with the book. I saw words that weren't there, and I didn't see extra words that were there. So
I always have an editor, and it's always good to get that extra set of eyes. Because with me, I find that I just read the book how I want it to read.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything outside my little bubble. So for me to make sure another pair of eyes sees it, and they'll be like, they'll point out, oh yeah, why did I see that?
Yeah, well, I had first readers and things like that, and people were very helpful. But you miss stuff, and I got it. I fixed it because again, I was really embarrassed to have the errors. One of them was really awful, and so it got fixed eventually, and the book now is clean. But yeah,
I didn't see anything, so It looks good. Here's another question from Denise. What did you find to be most rewarding in releasing your first book?
Just getting it done. Just getting it done.
Good answer.
It was a bucket list item for me, and to just do it after all those years. And it's really a tribute to my family. I will tell you that most of the characters are named after my great aunts and uncles and my grandparents. There are all family names are in there, and it was like, you know, I could do it, and thank God it came out okay. And there was a sense of fulfillment. There was a sense of achievement. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and it's gotten great reviews. I mean,
thank you.
And it also won awards. Hello, you did a good job, not an okay job.
Yeah. Thank you. But you know, I just recently got a really savage review, and I will admit it knocked me off my pins. It really did for a couple of days. But you know, you can't please everybody, and
you can't. And I've gotten some, and yet it stings. It does sting.
Oh, it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, it stings, and you know, you question yourself, but I won't let it last for more than 30 seconds. I'm like, okay.
You did better than me. Mine lasted about a day, but then, you know.
And I tell myself, you know, some people like liver, some people don't.
Oh, I hate liver.
I love liver. See, I love liver. So, you know, but, you know, we just move on. We just move on.
Yeah, and that's what you have to learn to do.
Yeah. And you look at all the positive you have versus incy little few that, you know.
Yeah, no, and again, you know, it may not be everybody's cup of tea, and I know that, and it's, you know, but
I mean, I'm sure there's some fantastic horror books out there, but I don't read horror. And if I read one, why would I read one? Because I don't read them. But I couldn't give a horror book a good review because it's not my genre, and it'd be like, ew, you know. So. You know,
I find even if I read a bad review of another author, I cringe inside, because now you know how much work and you know, heart goes into it. But again, you know, you can't please everyone. So
you can't. And you know, for me, if I pick up a book and I happen to not like it, I just keep it to myself.
Yeah, I do the same. I just don't review it.
Yeah, because I know what work they put into it, just like you said, and it's like I'm not gonna take away, because you know, I've heard horror shows with a bad review, some authors just quit. They just give up. They think they're not good enough, even though it's just one review that got under their skin. And I don't want to be a cause of possibly someone giving up because I didn't enjoy the book, whereas 50 other people probably love their book. You know?
No, I know, and it's true, exactly. I feel the same way. But again, I have a newfound respect for anyone that writes a book. I really do, because
me too. I mean, I love my dad. He did write books, but I was 12, 13 when his first book came out. I really didn't, you know, see the concept of it. I mean, he was up there working all the time, typing on the typewriter. The one thing I do admire from my dad is I have no idea how he wrote his first 3 books on a typewriter. That is no way.
Well, I in my freelance world, when my children were younger, I went from teaching to being, you know, home, and then when they were in school, I started freelancing, and I would do it on an electric typewriter. Yeah, and one mistake, and you'd have to do
the little words, like white out, whatever it's called, that stuff. There is no way I could write a book on a typewriter. So my hat's off to everyone that wrote their books in typewriters. I admire you. I do want to read the description of your book, and I want to just see what everyone else is saying here. Jennifer is here. She says hello, Jennifer Bowser. Ruth Benson, this is nice. I like this. She wrote, "When you write from your heart, it shows." I just wanted to let you know. I thought that's really nice.
Thank you, Ruth. You know, I feel she's a buddy.
Denise, I had such an emotional attachment to this story. Not only do two Sharon, Rita Lientin, I had such an emotional attachment to this story. Not only do two Sharon's talents, but my own grandmother was in the garment industry as well. So she could relate to your book.
Yeah, and that I have heard. I mean, a lot of people especially book clubs, will, you know, have had family members that were in the garment industry over the years, not necessarily way back, not in the 1900s, but even going forward. And today, unfortunately, there are parts of this world where the conditions are just as bad as what I described in the book.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. And the children, kids.
And children working, that's right. And it was really tough, and they didn't get paid very much, and it was long hours, physically demanding.
And you, I mentioned it before, but you show that really well in your writing. You really do.
Thank you.
We have a question here from Bambi. If you could speak to any other author, past or present, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's interesting. Well,
one.
I know. Well, I'm a big fan of Alice Hoffman. So and she writes historical, and she goes, you know, her research is incredible. I've always been a big admirer of her. So I would probably ask her lots of how did you do it questions, but she is one of my favorite authors. And I have to say, I'll give you another one if I could go back.
Yeah.
Little Women is my all-time favorite book.
So love it. Love it, love it, love it.
With May Alcott, that would be pretty incredible. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, if it's okay with you, I would like to read the description on the back of the book to our readers. And if you've just joined us, I'm here with Sharon Gloger Friedman. See, I got it right again. And we're talking her book about her book Ashes, which I have read, and I highly recommend it. But I do want to read the description, just in case you haven't read it. I don't have my glasses. No, I can do it. All right, here we go. A Jewish family's epic of hope, tragedy, and survival. Easter Sunday, 1903, ushered in 3 days of government-sanctioned brutality on the Jews of Kishinev, Russia. In the aftermath of slaughter, rape, and destruction, Mayor and Sadie Reisky escaped to New York City with their 13-year-old daughter, Miriam. Their home and business gone, reading from devastation, personal tragedy, the Reiskys cling to the promise of a better life in America. But upon arriving in New York City, Miriam and her parents quickly learn that promises are easily broken in the remnants of the Lower East Side. When circumstances forced Miriam to abandon the schooling she loved to help When circumstances forced Miriam to abandon the schooling she loves to help support her family, she goes to work at the infamous Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, joining other immigrant girls who work long hours for low wages in shocking conditions. Against the backdrop of emerging workers' rights and women's rights, Miriam's social conscience and young womanhood both blossom when she falls in love with a union organizer. Meticulously researched and rich with beautiful drawn characters that bring 20th century New York City to life. Ashes is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a haunting tragedy to the young women whose suffering inspired changes to the working conditions in the garment industry. Yeah. It's very, very good book. You are writing another book.
Trying to write another book, yeah.
Right. I don't want you to give anything away that you don't want to, but can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah, I can. It's another historical novel. Let me tell you how I got interested in this. I read an article and then met someone who there are people who observe certain traditions and rituals that are associated with Judaism who are not Jewish. Most of them are Catholic, in fact. They do things like light candles on Friday night. They avoid eating pork. Some of the rituals around death are very similar to the rituals that are observed in Judaism. And what it is that though they are not aware of it, they are descendants of Jews who came to this country, Sephardic Jews from Spain and that part, because of the Inquisition. And more than likely their families were Jewish and then converted because of the Inquisition in order to live. Or within that population, there were Jews who converted but practiced their Judaism in secret.
Oh, wow.
So there are people, and there are a lot evidently in New Mexico, who carry on these traditions and have no inkling that they're related to the religious aspects of their ancestors. So the story takes place, it starts in Valencia, Spain, and a young wife of a very well-to-do shipping magnate is suspected of being a converso. They were called conversos or crypto Jews, and they flee Valencia because it would mean if they could be called in and put through the Inquisition, the questioning and the torturing that went on during that time. So they flee and they wind up in Charleston, South Carolina, because at the time there was a Sephardic Jewish community there, but more to the point, there's a relative there that they can live with. And then that takes them into a new culture, and it's antebellum South Carolina. It starts in 1786 and will probably go to about 1809 or 10. I don't want to get to the War of 1812 because I'm going crazy with all the laws and everything right now.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
And then what the theme will be, that the candlesticks that the young wife, the only thing she had from her mother and was lighting the Sabbath candles, will go down through the story and be the thread that keeps it all together. And so there's issues of slavery and things of that nature, and so I'm struggling.
You have to be overwhelmed with research.
I am. I'm just overwhelmed with it. As I was telling before, I can start a paragraph and then have to stop and figure out what the laws were at the time, what women were allowed to do at the time. It's just getting overwhelming. It really is. So I'm not writing even 1,000 words a day. If I have 500 words a day, I'm happy.
You're happy?
Yeah, I've been working on it for about 1.5 years, and I can see that it would be another year before I finish. But it's
really,
well,
I'm sure it's going to be well worth the wait.
I don't know. It may never see the light of day if I'm.
Oh, it will. I'm sure it will. Now, Ashes is a standalone, correct? There's no. Yes. There won't be anything following Ashes, correct?
No. It's interesting that you said that because a lot of people asked. They wanted to continue the story, and
that's what I was asking.
Yeah. I thought about it hard and long. I really did, but with the exception of the character of Ram, I like where everybody was, and I just couldn't. I mean, to move it forward, the older people would eventually.
Yeah, you're good. You got a good point there.
And I didn't want to do that. I'm frankly very attached to those characters. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That really does. Yeah. So, do you have any kind of? I mean, a title for the new book, or you just nothing yet?
Working title is Freedom's Light, but I don't know if that
might change.
It's just got, again, the candles, that kind of thing, and
right.
Yeah. So
okay. Here's a question. Oh no, it's Ruth. I did Ancestry DNA. Did any of your characters?
I have done Ancestry DNA, if that's what you're asking, and it told me exactly what I knew. There was no surprises there, but I knew my grandparents on both sides of my family came from Austria, so I knew where I was going to land pretty much, when I did it. And I made the family come from Russia. So actually, in that respect, it doesn't reflect my family at all. So yeah.
Okay. I like Denise's questions. I'm going to put this one up.
Yeah.
Were you more emotionally attached to one character over another?
Yeah, I was. Oscar, as we talked, was a favorite of mine, and I liked Asna very much too. And they're not the main characters, but they both were very endearing to me. Oscar is actually he's like a combination of all the wonderful traits that my husband and my father, my grandfather, my son, they're all these wonderful men. That sweetness is really what he represented. Yeah. So yeah, Oscar actually was my favorite character. So.
Oscar, yeah, I like Oscar.
Yeah, I do too.
What? I mean, it's been a while since I've read your book. I want to say at least 8 months.
Yeah.
What I like about it, because we're talking about it, I could easily read it again. It's a book that, it's one of those books that you can put on the bookshelf and pick up, and actually read again and not be bored, or because it's one that for me it sticks with me, and I'm a huge fan of historical fiction. So now that we're talking about it, and there's parts, of course, that I have forgotten about. Oh yeah, now I remember that.
Yeah.
But I have no problem picking this up again and reading it.
That's great. That's great. That's really wonderful. You know what? I pick it up every once in a while and leaf through some of it, and some of it I think I'd like to change that maybe, and not, the wording or something like that. I don't know. Do you do that too? Do you look at it and say, oh, I could have written this better or something?
Oh yeah. Slater, the first one in the series. I told you I was reading the whole series. Slater, I was reading it, I go, wait a minute, I'm going to change this. And I ended up changing a whole bunch of stuff. But that's okay. And so there's a new edition of Slater up. I mean,
really, because I read the first one. Oh, really? So I should go back.
The story is still the same. The plot hasn't changed or anything like that. It's just I reworded some paragraphs, and I noticed that I had, put past and present together and stuff like that. So it's like, okay. And so I went in and made some changes, but it's more than I anticipated on making, but it's okay. So yeah. The plot's still the same. The story's still the same. I just made it read a little better. But so yes, I do that. Eve, I left alone. I'm reading Claire right now, and I'll probably leave her alone. But Slater, I wasn't too pleased with the editor in the beginning, so I'm kind of making changes from that. And this is an editor that I've had before the one I have now. So yeah. We left not on good terms.
For me, it was some of the dialogue in Ashes that I would like to change. That was pretty much the only thing. It just didn't feel like it didn't ring true. But yeah, and I have to say, people have been responding to it in a very nice way. And what I love is that when I do hear from readers, they're eager to tell me about their stories, and that makes me feel good that that it's working that way. So that's been a nice plus for me too. I've enjoyed it.
I can imagine. I mean, I'm excited to read your next book. I am.
Well, we'll see.
I am, and it will get out there. It will. I know it.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on it. It's just taking a lot longer than I thought. But since I've done one book already, that it wouldn't take me as long, and I know I feel more comfortable in the genre and writing a novel versus what I used to write before. And it's not. It's just as hard. When I hit a writer's block, I'll go for a walk or something, and I'm walking a lot lately. So.
Oh no. Do you also work other than write? I mean, do you have a job outside?
No, I'm retired. I've been retired for about 10 years. No, 9 years. I think 9 years. No.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. No, I'm old.
You're not old.
Yeah, I know. But I used to do marketing and that kind of stuff. To a friend of mine who's on here was a coworker of mine. So Jason.
So your day. So pretty much you still spend like a whole day working on your book, like researching, wriing, or just when you feel.
And still marketing Ashes. When you self-publish, you're out there on your own, and the book's been out for 2 years, and I'm just glad to hear that people are still interested in reading, and like you say, we do the takeovers and stuff that takes time to write, and it's
hard to juggle the both. I mean, when I wrote The Reckless Beginnings, my debut novel, like you said, it was a relief. To get it finished, get it out there, even though it was terrifying. But then I'm like, oh no, now I got to tell people about it.
Well, that's exactly what happened with the book, because it's been something with Ashes that I had wanted to do for so long. I mean, carrying these stories around, and it was just something I really wanted to do. It never occurred to me that there was going to be a whole other life to put into the book once it made it out, and I was like, I had never even been on Facebook. Some of my original work on Facebook is so embarrassing. I wrote a cousin not realizing that the whole world was seeing it.
I know.
I mean, it was like mortifying again to be so naive about the whole thing, really. And it
Yeah,
takes.
it's a learning process, and I'm still learning. And I feel like there needs to be 10 of me to cover everything I need to do to not only write my books, but market the books. Then you have to do graphics. Then you have to do the takeovers. And it's just an endless list. You do newsletters. And it's like, I want to have 5 or 10 of me to accomplish all these tasks. And yet all I want to do is just write. I would love to my dream is to just get up, whatever time I decide, 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, and say, okay, I'm going to write today, and I'm not going to be finished until I've written 5,000 words. And I would just love to spend my whole days doing that. I would just love it.
If I set that kind of goal for myself, I'd be sitting here with cobwebs on my head. I could not get 5,000 words out in a day. Never.
Well, my goal is 1,000, but because I'm reading the series, I'm not even doing that right now. And I can feel the frustration getting in. And when you talk about, the characters, like Jill is in the back of my head every single day. And I'm just waiting for her to come on, let's get going here. I want to get this book out there. And what's bugging me for the last 2 days, and I know it's part of the series. I know it is, that she's trying to tell me something. And it might sound weird if you're not an author, but I keep having issues. I am not a cat person, number one. I don't own cats. I don't have a cat. But for some reason, all these breeds of cats and colors are popping into my head. And I'm like, okay, I think Jill is going to have a cat. I honestly think she's going to have a cat because I'm thinking Siamese. I'm thinking, tabbies. And that's what I'm thinking. Is Jill trying to tell me what kind of cat she wants? But I'm obsessed with cat breeds lately. And I think Jill is telling me, but I'm trying to think, what kind of cat is Jill wanting? And I'm thinking is that such a cat as a Persian blue?
I think there is. I think
that keeps popping in. I'm not a cat person, but this Persian blue cat keeps popping into my head. So maybe we still get a Persian blue cat. I have to ask my readers. But yeah, it's just like she's dropping out little things to me, but I want the whole thing. I don't want it.
Well, I find too, if I'm really having a hard time, I find when I'm not thinking about it, something pops into my head, and I'm back on track again. And I don't know why, but that's the way it seems like my mind works. Do you dream about your characters?
I do. It's funny because my husband dreams a lot. I'll never use his dreams in my books, but he does dream a lot. And he always asks me, "You never tell me about your dreams." And I'm sure I do have dreams, but I don't remember any of them.
My characters make it into my dreams sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I did remember my dreams, but maybe it's the reason why I don't want to know about my dreams. I don't know. But no, I don't. I really wish I did, because maybe I would, know about Jill better.
There you go. There you go.
My editor is here. Crystal, you probably know Crystal.
Yes.
She's here. I love editing for you. You make it easy. Thank you, Crystal. And she wants to read Ashes. Crystal, I highly, highly recommend it. I really do.
Thank you.
So she is here. She's working on, I've forgotten the name of my book. What's my book called? What book do you have? Oh, The Reunions. Good Lord. Whoops. Yes, she's working on The Reunions right now, which is book 3 in the Tammy Mello series. So
you've got all these series going. So how do you keep them all straight?
Like I told you earlier, the Sabella series was just supposed to be one book because I had a break. And I thought, okay, I'll write one book. I always wanted to write a suspense romance. I'll give it a go. And then all of a sudden the characters started screaming at me, I want my own book. I want my own book. So that's how, so they started paralleling each other. And I was writing Better Endings and Eve at the same time. One day it would be Better Endings. One day it would be Eve. I'm never going to do this again. I'm not. So when I started writing The Reunions, I told myself, I am not going to think about anything else until The Reunions is done. I'm going to just put Sabella aside. I will get to her afterwards. I just released Eve. So the readers are happy. Well, I hope they're happy. And I can concentrate on The Reunions because I just it was driving me crazy going back and forth. And I think it was when I was writing the reunion. Yeah, the reunion, right before it went to Crystal, all of a sudden I was writing Jill instead of Tammy. For like 3 chapters subconsciously towards the end of the book, I'm reading Jill does this, da, da, da. I'm like, wait a minute, Jill is my next book in the series. And subconsciously, whoops, my tea almost spilled. Subconsciously, I'm writing her in the ending of the reunion. So I was starting to get anxious to start Jill, which I still haven't done. And she started crossing over in the reunion. So
yeah, I actually, Miriam is the main character in Ashes, and I typed in Miriam in this book. The main character is named Annika, so she's still with me, evidently.
Yes, they don't want to say goodbye. And in fact, in the Better Endings one, I'm not sure if you've read Better Endings, book 2 of the Tammy Mello series. That's all about my fishing days.
Yes.
And that won an award, I'm proud to say, yay. Yeah. But I loved writing that book. I really did. And it's going to continue on in the reunions, about the fishing days. But readers have asked me, what other fishing stories was there? Because I couldn't put them all in the book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Better Endings outtakes. And it'll be just short stories that I'm going to do on Kindle for now. And it would be like 1 a month. Of maybe, I don't know, 50,000 words, maybe 40,000, no, less than that, 25,000 words. It'll be a short story of one fishing event. But when I have 5 of them together, I'll make it into a paperback because not everyone has a Kindle. And it'll be a paperback of 5 short stories of more fishing adventures.
Great idea. Wonderful.
So I want to do that. But that's not until after the reunions is done, Jill is on her way, and I can focus.
Yeah, we have to take care of Jill. Jill definitely needs some attention.
Yeah, Jill is getting to be a pain. And I don't even know her that well yet. Melanie, here's Melanie. She says Ashes is on her list.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Read. I like to let you to see what people are saying here. And again, Melanie, same here. My husband has vivid dreams. He remembers, and I can't remember mine. So, do you dream every night? I mean, do you have dreams every night, most nights?
Oh my God, yes, I do. And by the way, my husband never dreams at all. He doesn't. And he doesn't remember.
That's like me.
I have very vivid dreams, and I have more than one dream a night. Yeah.
My husband dreams a lot, but his are just way out there.
Well, this is, and I know this is happening to other people too, but since this whole COVID thing, and we've been basically under self-incriminating house arrest here. Yeah, my dreams are bizarre. They're very strange.
I have to ask you, I didn't ask you in the beginning, where are you from again? I'm sorry.
I'm originally from South Florida, Miami Beach actually, but we live in Georgia, North Georgia now.
You're in North Georgia. Are you on a lockdown again?
No, but it's kind of self-imposed. We at that high risk group, we don't go out very much at all.
Okay.
9 months.
They just closed all the restaurants, outside dining again in California.
Yeah, I read that.
But you can still go to Walmart. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But anyways, can you believe the hour is almost? In fact, it's almost up. It goes by so quick. I could honestly talk to you all night. But I do want to talk about your giveaway, that you're going to be doing a giveaway. If I understand correctly, it's going to be a signed paperback.
Yes.
Wonderful. Book right here. It'll be signed by Sharon. And you're going to pick from our viewers tonight, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm going to leave it up to you when you want to announce the winner. It's entirely up to you. You can announce it later tonight, in the group, my group, Read More Books, and also in the comments of the video. But if you want to wait till tomorrow, that's fine too.
I'll probably announce tomorrow.
Yeah, it's entirely up to you. Now, your book, I know, is on Amazon, but if you're on Ingram, it's available everywhere. People can just go to the bookstore.
Right. It's Kindle too, and Nook, and Books A Million. It's pretty much everywhere, but it's not in like Barnes and Noble, only online because it's self-published.
Oh yeah,
it's mostly online.
So they can order it Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's a Barnes and Nobles, you know, in the town, they can just walk in and say, I want to order Sharon's book, and they can pick it up.
Yes. That's right.
They can do that too. So that's good. And you have a website, which I'm going to show everybody right now. If I get onto it. Hold on, give me a minute. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that up for a few minutes, and then people that do the replay will see it too. Other than your book on the website, do you have a blog or a newsletter that goes out?
The blog is basically a lot of the reviews I've done and some information. There's a lot of information though on the site about the fire, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, and the history and what a shirtwaist is, and how I came to write the book. Yeah. The people who passed away. Yeah, and there's also a list on there of the 146 victims of the fire. So, and how old they were.
Oh, I'm gonna check. I mean, I browsed your site, but I haven't gone into depth. I'm definitely
you have to click on a photo on, I think, on the page that talks about the fire. I'm trying to remember, but there is a list there of and how old they were. And
I'll check that out. That's good to know.
It's mostly young people, young Jewish and Irish.
Yeah, they were teenagers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the website, you're on Facebook. Any other social media you're on, like Instagram?
Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, mostly Facebook.
Twitter I'm on, but I don't do it. I just don't do Twitter. Right now I can't do Twitter. With all the political stuff going on, I just can't be on there.
I'm mostly on Facebook.
Yeah. If you want to leave any links in the comments after we're finished, you can go back onto the video on the replay. And just go into the comments and any links you want to leave, like to Amazon. I got the website up here, but you can actually leave a link that people can click on. You can do that.
Yes.
But it's been really a lot of fun talking to you.
It has been wonderful. Yeah.
We're going to have to do this when the next book comes out, which will be
in about a year.
No. Well, I love seeing you in the group every day and keeping in contact with you that way. So, but do stay on. You know, we'll be behind the scenes and we'll have a little chit chat. But I want to thank everyone that joined us tonight. You guys are always great for coming here. I love doing these chats with you and having you join us. And Sharon will go through the list and she'll let us know tomorrow who her lucky winner is.
Yes, and thank everybody who came on. I really appreciate it, and all my friends from the past too. That's wonderful.
That was great, and your high school friends. That was awesome. I love it. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
No, George, don't.